On today's show, we finish up last week's conversation about ChatGPT. Today, once again, we have the one and the only Mr. James Leichter in the studio to wrap up our conversation about ChatGPT and how you can use it in your HVAC business to profit. Take it away, James.
Let's say, Ian, that we had a customer complaint about our tune-up. And I bet this has happened to some of us. It's happened to me. I've done a lot of tune-ups. And I remember the first time I did a really good tune-up and someone blamed me for their compressor failing. And this is before I knew what a megometer was and wasn't using a megometer. And maybe I could have prevented that. But I had a compressor fail a couple of weeks later, something like that. And the customer was angry because they said they've never had any trouble with their unit until I came along and I did this supposed precision tune-up. And now they're told they need an entire new condensing unit and coil, and they weren't happy about that at all. So imagine that person sends us a letter or posts maybe on Google their complaint, a Google review. How do we reply to it? We'll ask ChatGPT how it would reply to it. And again, we pasted the question into the system from Word, but I would like to read you the customer complaint. So here's what I asked. Please help us respond to the following customer complaint. They left this review after we performed our precision tune-up for them. Please write a response that we can use and hopefully defuse the situation. Simple English. And then I wrote, here is the customer complaint, : So I made it really clear that I'm done talking and the rest of this is the customer complaint. Here's the customer complaint. We purchased a tune-up from your company about 1 month ago. About 3 weeks after your technician left, our air conditioning system went out on us. The technician came out and told us the compressor had failed. He said the entire system had to be replaced and that it was not worth fixing. He said the price to replace the system was $15,000. That's ridiculous. We have never had any trouble before Pro American worked on our system. We paid a premium price so that we could get a premium service. Our air conditioning system should not have failed. We don't understand why we should pay $15,000 for a new system. How do we know your technician didn't cause the problem? And I think that that is a very real world complaint that many of us have had, something like that. And we all know we didn't cause it, but how do you explain that to someone in layman's terms? Let's ask for help. Let's see what it tells us, Ian.
Okay.
Dear valued customer. So we didn't tell ChatGPT who this person was. So it just said, dear valued customer, but I bet it would have said, dear Mrs. Smith, had we put a name in there. And it's kicking out a pretty good answer. I'm just reading as we go along. It looks like it's showing empathy. Oh, there's a good sentence. So earlier we mentioned, let me find the sentence, when we gave the system some background, one thing we said to it was, let me find that, we have a full-time mechanical engineer on staff. Our company has a very family-oriented, I mentioned high technical standards, high efficiency, high performance. That's what we're all about. And I noticed that it picked up on that in its answer. Ian, not to put you on the spot reading out loud, but why don't you read that to the audience?
Okay. So it says, dear valued customer, first and foremost, I want to extend my sincerest apologies for the unfortunate experience you've had. I am James, the president of Pro American Services, and I take your concerns very seriously. Our company is built on the principles of integrity, honesty, and top-tier service, and we take all customer complaints to heart as we aim to uphold these principles. Understanding your situation, it must be disheartening to face an unexpected system failure, particularly after our team performed a tune-up on your air conditioner. While our tune-ups are designed to optimize efficiency and detect potential issues, HVAC systems, like any mechanical device, can sometimes fail unexpectedly. I assure you that our intention was, and always is, to provide the best service possible to prevent such situations. In regard to your concern about the cost of the new system, I understand it's a significant investment. The price reflects the cost of a high-quality, ultra-efficient HVAC system, including installation by our trained technicians. However, we appreciate that this is a major decision, and we are more than willing to provide additional options that might be more in line with your budget. As for your concern about whether our technician may have caused the problem, I want to assure you that our staff undergoes extensive training, and the tune-up service is designed to enhance the performance and longevity of your system, not hinder it. It's highly unlikely that our tune-up could have caused the compressor failure, as the process mainly involves cleaning, lubrication, and adjustment tasks. We take your trust in us very seriously. I'd like to personally discuss this issue with you and try to find a resolution that meets your needs and ensures your satisfaction. Please reach out to me directly at 913-492-9930 at your earliest convenience. Our ultimate goal is to ensure you are completely satisfied with our services and to restore your faith in Pro-American Services. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and for giving us the opportunity to rectify the situation. Best regards, James, President, Pro-American Services.
What do you think of that response, Ian?
I think it's something I would expect. I think that sounds like it took into consideration everything that was complained about and formulated a very, very good response, in my opinion.
I like it's highly unlikely that the tune-up could have caused a compressor failure, as the process mainly involves cleaning, lubrication, and adjustment tasks. We didn't tell it that, so it went out and into its brain and figured that out. I like the word investment. We didn't use that word earlier that I remember anyway. Could have, but the word investment is good. I'm always preaching the word investment as opposed to cost. So I think it's a very good letter. If it has my name on it, I'm going to want to tweak it, of course. But I think that is so much better than starting with a blank sheet of paper and not knowing what to do. We could even ask it to give us another response with half the words, and it would easily do that. It would kick out another response for us and have half the words in it.
Would you like me to do that?
You know what? Why don't we try that? Let's do that. So we'll say to ourselves, wow, this is a little bit wordy. I'd like another option. Now, remember earlier, we could have said regenerate. Well, there's a regenerate response button that we can click.
Yeah.
And we could have done that. But also we could say, hey, I like this. I don't like that. Give me a new response. So let's see. You wrote half the words. I was thinking about it, thinking, boy, you're picky, aren't you? Gary, while we're waiting on it to consider his request for half the words, it appears to be a little bit insulted by that. What did you think about that response?
I liked it. I agree with you. It's probably just a little longer. If I was personally editing it for myself, I might trim it down, but the context of what it generated was spot on. I probably in my company would have changed the reach out to me to I will be reaching out to you, and then obviously say, or you can reach me at, just again, humanizing that to your style and how you as a business want to approach that. But I just like also that owners generally don't write, let's call it savvy, politically correct responses to people that are maybe a little wacko, if I can use that term in today's world. There's a lot of aggressive people out there, and as a business owner, I take it personally, so I don't really like, most of the time they're wrong, and you want to lash out, and the way you write and the tone and texture of what you write might not be brand identity that you want to leave out there on the internet. So having the AI do it first gives you a really nice context for try to be polite, but correct and factual. So, and I think it did a great job doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I take it personal too. I don't mean to, but I put my heart and soul in my work. If it's a tune-up or writing code or piece of software or a phone call or a speech, it's easy to take it personal. I get over it quickly and I try to learn from it. But one thing I've learned, Gary, is, you don't respond immediately because you'll feel differently the next day, right? So it's nice to have something that with no emotions, a robot, if you will, with no emotions to provide me with an initial response so I don't appear like I'm just defensive and don't care.
Exactly.
There's our short answer. It looks pretty good. You can see it got to the point and quoted replacement. Let's see, significant. I invite you to call me. Yep. So it's still inviting them to call. We would change that. We're going to reach out to you, but there's a shorter response. I like it. I think it's a good response. Now, one interesting thing I've noticed, just FYI for everybody, if I sent you the questions that we're asking, and if I gave you all this text and you did it on your computer, especially if you did it a day or two later, you're going to get a slightly different set of responses, in my experience anyway, and that's very limited because it's so new, but that's what's happened in my experience anyway, is you'll get a slightly different response. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned earlier, it's still learning. And so when you talk to it in a week, you're sort of talking to a consultant that's got another week of experience. Just like if you talk to Gary a year from now, you have a better Gary, hopefully, right, Gary? Hopefully he's a year better. I know I'm way better than I was a year ago, not to mention just 30 days ago. ChatGPT is the same way. It's improving constantly, and you'll notice that you're going to get different answers asking the same questions. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing about the technology. If you're totally new to this, keep in mind, this is a really early version. This is like Windows 3.1 or Windows 3.0 even, or DOS. So as comparison, when 5 comes out, it is supposed to be, the rumor has it, that it is supposed to be unbelievably more powerful than this version. Isn't that what you're hearing?
Yeah. These just the jump from 3 to 4 is enormous. So 4 to 5, I imagine, is probably going to be, even bigger. So these things tend to grow at an exponential rate. So
yeah,
just like Moore's law, sort of. So
it's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do here today. Not that I wish we could, but just to let you know, this isn't the only thing that you can do with this or other technologies like it. There are competitors like Google, Bard, Gary brought up. There are other things you can do with it. You can leverage so-called APIs and build software that takes advantage of this system's capability. You can also use other plugins, things like that. Bing search is now using this as an option. You have to turn it on. But there are other programs using this technology, and you can even build your own if you desired. One thing that I really like, side note, one thing I really like about this product is that whatever you're pretty good at, it'll make you good at it. Like, I would never make a living as a programmer, even though I'm in the business. I have people like Ian who write code, and I don't write code very well. But if I need a piece of code written, then I can write it and give it to ChatGPT and ask it to fix the code or make the code better. If I have a question about code that has an error, it will oftentimes tell me the fix. But more practically speaking, for the rest of you, if you ever find yourself working in Excel and you're not sure how to write a formula to do something with column B, D, and F, but only if column Z contains a certain thing and never another thing, you will easily get the answer with this system. It will tell you exactly what to do. You talk to it like it's 12 years old. You give it the name of the columns, the words, etc., that you're looking for, not looking for, and it'll provide you with a formula, which I think is just awesome. I mean, I'm pretty good in Excel, and with this, it's made me excellent in Excel. There's just nothing I haven't been able to do with the help of this and the knowledge I have of Excel. Let's say now,
James.
Oh yeah, Gary, sorry, go ahead.
James, yeah, I just want to dovetail on that comment about Excel. We had an EGI member ask some questions about inventory management, inventory code creation, what were the best practices around generally figuring out how to create an inventory control system. So ChatGPT created the barcode system. It created the SKUs. It created the numbering system, gave several examples. The prompt was, give me 3 examples of how the barcode system would be easiest to manage, for a team of employees. And it created all the numbering systems for the SKUs for that. So this has very specific applications for things that are problems for us as business owners. And so, I mean, that would take literally, I did this back in the early 2000s. It took 2 weeks. I paid a person that was highly analytical. I sent him in the back room, gave him all the data, and he basically spent 2 weeks back there and never came out. We sent him pizzas and beer once in a while. and he created that for us, and ChatGPT essentially did the same task, in about a minute. So you would tweak it, of course, but that's a very powerful concept if you look at your business processes and you simply say, okay, I've got this problem. I'm not good at it, but how can this be, in place in my business? So that's a real life scenario that happened about 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me of some flat rate task work I was doing. I wanted all of these task numbers to begin with ACA, Alpha Charlie, Alpha, if they were in the atmospheric controls category. And the category had been set, but we had a new numbering convention, and it quickly did that. It looked to see what tasks were in what category. We had different categories besides atmospheric controls, but it just quickly added ACA and a dash to all those tasks. Anything that a human can do that's repetitive, that requires, a little bit of knowledge and attention to detail, it will handle it. The nice thing is the attention to detail is infinite because it never gets tired. It never gets frustrated. So it is infinite in its attention to detail. Whatever level it's at, good or bad, or somewhere in between, it will never get worse. It's consistent. So it's fantastic at doing repetitive tasks, data analysis. One thing that it'll do, as long as we're on the topic of Excel and data, it will clean up your data. You could, for example, and we've done this at Aptora as an experiment, you could take 1,000 zip codes and just add them to a bunch of random text and numbers so that what you have is a pile of garbage data. You could add phone numbers to it, names. Then you could ask ChatGPT, you could say, I have a bunch of zip codes, phone numbers, and names in all of this garbled text. I would like you to extract those from this garbled text, and it will. And if it doesn't get some of it right, you can give it more clues. You can say a zip code will always have a dash and 4 more numbers in it. Or a name will never have letters in it, things like that, or numbers in it. A name will never have numbers in it. Redo your work, and it will keep redoing it over and over again. And I can speak from experience, it works really well because we have big plans for that type of thing using this technology. Anything you wanted to add to that, Gary, before we try another exercise?
Yeah, so the ability to look at demographic data, to your zip code point, if you just typed in the zip codes that you were marketing to in your particular area, you can ask ChatGPT to identify all the demographic characteristics and what might be the most interesting target market for me as a company based on my value proposition. It's a very specific question, very specific prompt, and it will go through the census data, which is public data, as you know. Companies that sell, they repurpose that data and then they resell it to people. But it is public domain data, and so it's available. So ChatGPT can go get that, analyze it for you, and present you with the very best alternative for how you might want to target market. Then you can start creating campaigns. So what used to take me maybe 25 or 30 hours of research is done now in seconds.
So I got a neat exercise we should do, Ian. Since we're on the topic of direct mail, let's say that we want to send our letter to everybody. Pardon me. We want to be clear, right? We're talking to a human. We want to send the direct mail letter that you created to all residential homeowners in the zip code of 66219.
I think we all need a coach. I mean, I guess I look at Tiger Woods needs a coach for golf, and we surely need a coach for us run our business, help us run our business. When I talk to my coach, Bob, about different things, he's constantly giving directions on where I need to go, do some studying, and it's nice that it has all that stuff in the EGIA Contract University stuff.
We've gotten a lot of really good advice. We're starting to implement some things that we weren't doing. We're unique because we only do ductless, so we have to kind of tweak the HVAC industry into our world, but we've been doing that, and with both Daryl's help and Bob's, we've been able to really rethink a few things, and we're starting to make some big progress.
The experience with Next Level Coaching so far has been really good. It's been really great to be able to talk about all things business, and even the social or the difficulties that we're enduring. It's not just KPIs. It's actually, it feels like it's human coaching more than business coaching sometimes.
I would say the biggest thing that I learned is about pricing, when I realized that I don't sell anything but labor. I control all my pricing through my kits, and that's where my labor is built on. And so it's made me more competitive because I'm not marking up big expensive items as much as I was, and yet I'm getting it all back from my labor. So it works really well. I'm getting paid for what we install and getting paid for what we service.
The biggest thing that we've learned from the Next Level Coaching would be the implementation process. So being encouraged on a regular basis to implement the things that we talk about, and to be able to go back and either look at the numbers or to talk to you where you remind us of where we left off, and to make sure that we're actually doing the things we said we were going to do.
Somebody else has already done this, and there are people who know how to do it. So go ask them and get the answers, because it's already been invented. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. You just have to tweak it to your company. And these guys have broad knowledge, and it just they bring it in and they can make it work for you.
Do it. I mean, Next Level Coaching, if I could convince everyone to be a part of it, I think that's a big thing for us to all participate. We need to participate in every avenue that's available to us through the EGIA.
We want to send that direct mail letter you wrote to every residential homeowner in the zip code of 66219.
In the zip code of what was it?
66219.
621.
Order to letter.
That's right. And then, period, new sentence. It costs 75 cents to mail each letter, period. How much will this campaign cost us? Question mark.
Cost us 70 cents.
All right, so we'll see what answer we get. Now,
I'd like to warn that sometimes ChatGPT is not the best at math.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't do well at math, does it?
Yeah.
All right, so What's it say?
Okay, I'll read it.
Yeah.
The cost to mail a letter to every residential homeowner will depend on a number of homeowners in the zip code 66219. As an AI, I don't have real-time access to a database or internet to fetch the exact current data, but as per the data from 2021, the zip code 66219 in Lenexa, Johnson County, Kansas, had approximately 8,213 households. If we were to use this as an estimate, you can calculate the cost by multiplying the number of households by the cost of the mailing each letter. So 8,213 households times 75 cents equals $6,159.75. Therefore, it would cost approximately $6,159.75 to mail a letter to every household in the zip code 66219 based on the 2021 data. I recommend reaching out to your local post office or a direct mail service provider for the most accurate and current information.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, so we could continue to do research. We could really fine tune it, start asking it questions about who we should send to and what are the demographics and what is the income, and just keep going with it. But that's a pretty good demonstration of what Gary was talking about, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we all know the importance of SEO, search engine optimization, and experts like Gary will tell us that we need to constantly be adding content to our websites and fine-tuning our content. And one thing that we should be doing is writing blog articles on our blog site about things that are of interest to our clients. So if we are in the comfort business, then we want to talk about, as an example, the importance of a tune-up on a heating system or a cooling system. So I thought for this exercise, we would ask ChatGPT to help us write a blog article. How many of us are good at that, right? We'll have it write one for us and at least get us started. So here is the question I wrote. Please write us an article for our company website blog. This article needs to explain why homeowners need to maintain their HVAC systems and that the annual maintenance should be performed by professionals that are properly trained. Annual maintenance helps reduce untimely backgrounds, improves efficiency, and maintains cooling capacity. And I go on, but you get the idea. I'm giving it my explanation, like we were just talking to each other. And you're the marketing expert, and I say, would you write me this article? Well, what do you want it to say? And I'm just telling you. That's how you pose your questions, and that part's super important. So let's see what kind of article it can generate for us. And this will take, I think, a little bit of time. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that you're going to probably want to reformulate the article. Certainly, you don't want to pretend like this is your article. You want to go in and give it your personal touch. If you're putting your name on it, I suppose it'd be okay to say this letter came from ChatGPT. But if you're going to put your name on it, personalize it. Also, for SEO purposes, and we haven't asked it to be SEO centric. We haven't given it any specific SEO instructions, but for SEO, we might have to go in and make sure we have a header 1 and we have a header 2 and we have a title and all those things. But I'm seeing already that it's given us what I would consider to be a pretty SEO friendly title. And those are header 1s and header 2s.
Oh,
so it looks like it's a pretty good letter. Now, what's red mean?
It means an error has occurred. So probably something with their services. So this happens every once in a while. Usually you just have to wait, or, you can just regenerate it. So we might have to regenerate it.
Regenerate. Yeah. I haven't seen the red before. Now, I have had it freeze up on me many times. And like Ian said, I'll either hit the regenerate button or I will refresh the web page and then I will hit regenerate. Sometimes it loses. By the way, here's a good tip for you, because I learned the hard way. If you are writing out a long explanation and you type as poorly as I do, copy that to your clipboard or copy it and paste it into Notepad or Word or start in Word. But don't take any chances, because I've gone in there, and I type 20 words a minute or something. I've gone in there and typed out this long question that was really great, and it froze up and I lost my question. So don't get burned like I did. But I can see it's writing out the headers. It's addressing the questions or concerns rather that I had, and that is I have to justify the annual maintenance, why you would need it, why it should be from a professional. I see words referring to that. And it's also borrowing, I can tell, it's borrowing on the information that we already gave it prior to this latest question. So looks like a pretty decent letter. Is that the end of it right there?
Yeah, this is the end. It's also asking right there where you guys were talking about earlier, was this response better or worse? And you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, or, like same. So
yeah.
Would you like me to go through this, or it's kind of long?
It's a long letter, but I would say I don't know how well they can see it. So let's make sure we read the title.
Okay.
And the opening paragraph and just read the headers.
Okay, so you can see here the title that it gave it was The Importance of Regular HVAC Maintenance, Ensuring Efficiency, Performance, and Comfort. It gave a little preview. Your home's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system is more than a simple comfort appliance. It's an integral part of your living space that requires careful attention and regular maintenance to ensure its optimal operation, especially as the seasons change. And then it has a section about why is regular maintenance essential, and it answers it. And then why should you trust professionals for HVAC maintenance, how to make the most of your HVAC maintenance, and then it has the conclusion. And so at the end, it says, in conclusion, annual HVAC maintenance performed by trained professionals is essential for the comfort, efficiency, and longevity of your system. Being proactive about your HVAC system's health can save you from future headaches and ensure your home remains your sanctuary in any weather.
Before I bring Gary into this, because he's the expert, let's ask it one more question. Okay. Let's say, please give me 2 suggestions for a powerful call to action, and let it know the price of this service is $119.
And $119?
Yes.
The price of this service is $119.
So we're asking for the call to action that we talked about earlier, because I noticed that this letter really doesn't have one. So we'll see about getting help.
I'll read this off. Number 1, don't let malfunctioning HVAC system disrupt your comfort. Invest in your home and peace of mind today with our comprehensive $119 tune-up services. Give us a call now and we'll ensure your system operates at peak efficiency for maximum savings and comfort. Your comfort is our command. And then the second one, take action today for a cooler tomorrow. For just $119, our detailed tune-up services ensures your HVAC system runs efficiently and reliably, saving you money and potential headaches down the line. Call us now because your family deserves the best indoor comfort experience every day.
So that's good. I can't prove this, but it says your comfort is our command. I have a feeling that the word command, I may be stretching this, but I have a feeling the word command could have had something to do with the fact that when we originally introduced this fictitious company, I said that my dad founded the company and he's a veteran. My dad is a veteran, but I mentioned that he was the founder of the company and a veteran. I wouldn't doubt that had something to do with it. And also in the second call to action, they're talking about your family, your family's comfort. And I have a feeling the fact that we said we're family oriented had something to do with that. But imagine taking those call to actions, both of them are good, putting them on your website, and then adding a, would you like to know more? Or a button that just says book it, book the appointment, or call us. And then they click it, and that takes them to the letter we just wrote. And now you have the blog article, but you have content explaining your service, and you've got a couple of decent ads that can go on your website. What do you think about that, Gary? I'm anxious to hear your comments on all of this.
Yeah, so has been confusion. So let's hopefully clarify some of the confusion on blogs, and whether blogs are going to be useful for SEO purposes. And so initially there was this idea that AI generated content was going to be picked up as spam or some form of, negative attributes towards SEO rankings. Google has since clarified that. They're okay with AI generated content. They're just not okay with inaccurate or content that's misleading in any way. So best piece of advice I can give you, since obviously we're using AI to help, generate some of our blog posts, is that you humanize the blog post. Somebody has to watch over the blog post. You've got to scan it, read it, make sure that the blog post is accurate, that you're not promoting something that's inaccurate, because that will in fact be picked up by the algorithm. And so most people, I think, probably at this point in the industry know that the algorithms for Bing, Microsoft, and for Google, they read the content. And so when they see that content, if they deem that to be inaccurate or inappropriate, you're going to get dinged on your SEO. And so we don't want that to happen. So the easy thing to do is say, oh, great, now I can write 3 blogs per month instead of, 1. And so we already know that it's, keyword stuffing and, massive content generation is not really what Google's algorithms are about any longer. It's about relevance, and it's about, putting the answer to the search query that's interesting, to the user's actual search. So it's not about the length of the blog, it's about the quality of the blog. So again, humanize that. So I think the AI will get better over time, but we've definitely run many blogs through the AI detection system that Google and some of the other folks provide to us, and they fail. So we're a little bit mindful about making sure somebody looks at those blogs. Like, you have to QC it, would be the advice that I'm giving. And then to call to actions, I love the call to actions. I mean, I probably would be a little more aggressive, just having some experience on, seasonality. I might add a little spice to it, but I like the idea, James, that I can sit in an office and generate 7 or 8 call to actions and have a marketing piece done and out and spend a couple hours on it. I mean, that's just awesome. I can't tell you how, from a marketing point of view, I love that stuff.
I do too. I am so excited about this technology. That's why I was really anxious to do a webinar like this, because I smile and grin at this all the time. I just love it, because it's not going to make anybody into something they're not. But if you have a little bit of skill, it'll give you a lot of ability. So if you're decent at doing something, this will make you way better. If you are a C+, if you give yourself a grade of C+ in Excel, this will make you an A- Excel user. If you're a C+ writer, it'll make you an A- writer. It's terrific. And keep in mind, we're doing this really quick. This system has never heard of us. This is our first conversation about this fictitious company, and it's given us some pretty good advice. Imagine if we just continue to tell it, well, I don't like this, I want more of that. Can you give me more that emphasize the following? It'll get better and better. That's why I started out by saying, keep your conversations. Call this conversation. You don't have the ability to give it a name at the moment. Maybe that'll come, but call this conversation internally, sales and marketing, and then keep it and use it all the time for sales and marketing. Imagine if we did this show, started the show over again, and it was all about writing standard operating procedure. So you'd introduce your company, and then you'd say, I would like standard operating procedure on how to handle email, on how to answer the phone, on how to handle customer complaints. And I would like help making an organization chart, etc. By the way, you can ask it to put the results in a table. If you ask it for research, you can say, put your answer in a table, 7 columns across, as an example, and it will do that. Just play around with it. It's amazing. I did write an article on our blog site at mrhvac.com. If you want to go there and go to the blog area, I put the article on there just last night because I wanted to be able to point to that article and say, well, here's how you can get the free account, and here's how you can do this. And I give a lot more details, technical details on the so-called prompt engineering that that is so important in getting good answers out of the system. Gary, is there anything else you wanted to add to that before I move on?
Yeah, images. I think we haven't talked about images and the AI generation for how we can tie the marketing language to images. And so there's a whole bunch of image generator AIs that aren't named ChatGPT. You just have to type in the Google list and figure out which one excites you and which one creates the most interesting visuals for you, because they're all just a little bit different. Obviously, ChatGPT has that functionality as well. I happen to be using Night Cafe. And so I sent you a direct marketing letter, which, it was called the money tree, right? I think you saw the money tree. And I asked the image generator to give me a tree that had, there's actually a tree called the money tree. I said, generate the money tree with actual money hanging from the leaves. And so it came back to me with the tree with the money hanging from the leaves, and it was made out of gold. And as I showed you the letter, it's remarkable because it fit the narrative. In other words, when the construct of the marketing copy was there along with the actual image, and there's a QR code on there as well, it did pretty much all of that for me. Now, I touched up the letter just a little bit, but at the end of the day, the entire campaign was built, in about 1 hour, and, we are ready to go to market with it. So I think we just want to make sure people know that you can do imagery as well as data, as well as text.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up. I mentioned that in my blog article very briefly. I talk about the fact that ChatGPT is not the name of the company. The company is actually OpenAI, and that this is one of their products. They have other products. They have a product that helps you create images. And just like we've seen before, you can say to it, for example, I want a pencil drawing of a service technician in the backyard of a home working on blah, 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 petting the dog, or being watched over by a nosy cat. Anything like that, and it will give you those images. And it's and again, it's in its infancy. It's going to get much better, but it's amazing that you can get things like that, and they're original, and you can add those to your web content. It's really cool. All right, I think what we'll do, Ian, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Well, I could give lots more examples of how to use this technology. As I said earlier, very quickly, you would keep this conversation, make it your sales and marketing or the marketing conversation, and then you would click the new conversation button and start a whole new conversation about, say, write me a policy manual on, or write me procedures about, and then you could take that same background information and start with it, because it won't know those things about your company. So you can use that information again and again, and then start another conversation about constructing policy manuals or whatever. Recently, a client asked me for a QuickBooks test. They said, we're going to hire a full charge bookkeeper like you suggested, and we need them to be able to use QuickBooks. They use QuickBooks, not our software. They use QuickBooks. That's fine. But we need to know if they really know how to use QuickBooks, because none of us really know how to use QuickBooks very well at all. And I said, well, I don't really have an exam that I can share with you, but I bet you can get one in ChatGPT. And sure enough, we explained that none of us really know much about QuickBooks. We need to hire a real QuickBooks expert that understands accounting, not just using the software. They understand bookkeeping processes. Please give us 20 questions with answers, and it did. And then we went back and said, okay, we want multiple choice, 4 possible answers on 20 of them, and we would like 15 true-false questions. We even had 5 essay questions added to it when we were all done. And it was a good test. I mean, I'm a QuickBooks expert. I would consider myself to be a QuickBooks expert anyway. And looking at what they showed me, it was a pretty darn good test. There were a few things that I might have done differently, but the fact is a layman could have a test created on a topic that they know nothing about for the purposes of interviewing or promoting or training or anything else.
Awesome content right there, as always. Now listen, if you like this content, please share it with your friends via Facebook. If you're not a member, go ahead and click the button below to get a free 30-day trial of our entire Contract University platform. There's an awful lot there, and you'll get it for free. We'll see you next time, folks. Until then, bye-bye for now.